going on, everyone? I am here at Destination Outdoor with Toyota and Lexus, and we have the brand new 2024 Toyota Tacoma TRD Off-road in Solar Octane. Now, obviously, the Toyota Tacoma has been a hotly anticipated model, and we're at Destination Outdoor, which is a Toyota Lexus event, and there are tons of Tacomas here, outfitted in every type of overlanding, camping, excursion-ready format that you could possibly imagine. And there has been a crowd of people flocking to this thing every 5 seconds. We had to move way over here to this field just so that we could get like the proper footage of the Tacoma, because so many people want to see it, so many people want to be involved in it. And to say that it draws a crowd at Solar Octane is putting it mildly, okay? Solar Octane is a fantastic color. So let's do a quick walk around of the Toyota Tacoma, because one of the questions that I've gotten a lot as I've featured Toyotas on the channel, especially Tacomas, is what do I think of sort of the comfort, interior comfort, as someone who is 6'6", okay? And my answer has always been compromised, right? I don't usually have too much trouble getting comfortable in the front of the Tacoma, but that's about it, and it renders the people behind me almost useless, like no one can sit there. So let's do a quick walk around, see what the Tacoma's all about. I'll give you some of the basic facts that you could easily look up on the internet, of course. But what is it like to live with? That's what we want to know. Unfortunately, driving impressions are going to have to wait for a couple more weeks. All right, let's start by talking about the styling of the all-new Tacoma, because that was a big deal when it was unveiled. And personally, and this is just my opinion, I am a big fan. I'm a big fan of the way that this thing looks. And here's the thing that doesn't necessarily come across in pictures that I think it's helpful. Hopefully in the B-roll of the video, maybe you're seeing this a little bit more, but the Tacoma still looks a lot more like a Tacoma than you might expect. I know that when I saw it in pictures for the first time, I immediately thought like, oh, it looks kind of like a baby Tundra, right? They've kind of taken the Tundra styling and they've applied it to the smaller platform. But in person, the proportions, the stance, just the way it sits, it still seems to be very much a Toyota Tacoma. And I think the people here at a sort of fan event like this, where the passion is for Toyota and Lexus products, I think they really appreciate the fact that their sort of tried and true and trusty Tacoma still is a Tacoma. And it looks even more like a sort of Tacoma amazing Tundra mashup in Solar Octane with all of those styling cues. So I love what they've done here with the styling. I really think in person it feels like an evolution of the Tacoma. I think the old Tacoma styling was definitely getting long in the tooth. But I think more importantly, we need to look at the utility and the usability, because for someone tall like me, that would be my primary concern when I'm thinking of getting a smaller pickup truck as opposed to a full-size pickup truck. Now, this Toyota Tacoma TRD Off-road is paired with the iForce Max engine, which means you get 326 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. So it's a turbo 4-cylinder with an electric motor wedged between the engine and the 8-speed automatic transmission. And 465 pound-feet of torque in this is a lot of torque. That is a significant amount of power in a vehicle of this size. So you're getting not only sort of Toyota quality, reliability, you're not only getting the Toyota Tacoma sort of reputation for off-road readiness, ruggedness, and toughness, but you're also getting a substantial power increase, okay? The base iForce engine is way more powerful than the outgoing motor. I'll put the numbers on the screen. The iForce Max with its 465 pound-feet of torque is loads more powerful. And this is the same basic powertrain setup that's powering the new Toyota Land Cruiser. So having that turbo assistance with an electric motor along with it, I mean, mean, that's really gonna help you when you're at elevation. That's gonna really keep the thing chugging along in situations as you go up in the mountains, like where we are right now. You're not gonna experience a loss of power. So I think this is a very interesting, cool, and semi-fuel efficient powertrain for a truck of this size. Definitely helps it stand out in the segment. Now, this one is a TRD off-road model. So let's talk a little bit more about what that means for off-road capability, because Toyota's added quite a bit of capability to the TRD off-road model because you have the Trailhunter and the TRD Pro models have gotten so insanely capable that now in some ways this becomes almost like a stepping stone, more so than it was before. So what's crazy about this TRD off-road model, and this one's pretty loaded up because it's on display here at Destination Outdoor, but what's crazy about it is that this TRD off-road has your four-wheel drive, it has low range, it has multi-terrain select, it also has crawl control, downhill assist, it has an electronic locking rear differential, and it has a stabilizer bar disconnect. And you get all of that on the TRD off-road model. Now, we don't have pricing, it hasn't been sort of finalized for a model like this. You can bet that it's probably, you know, decently expensive, but not as expensive as the Trailhunter or the TRD Pro. But the fact that you can get all of this on the TRD off-road, Bilstein remote reservoir shocks, like that's a lot of technology, a lot of off-road technology packed into this sort of stepping stone truck. I really like this. I've said this for a while. The TRD off-road models, especially of the Tundra and the Tacoma, represent a really good kind of value point in the lineup. You're able to get a lot of the choice off-road goodies that you want without necessarily splurging for the TRD Pro, or, you know, now you have that Trailhunter, right? You have that new Trailhunter kind of like overlanding, rock crawling thing with all of the accessories. So those are amazing. They're probably gonna be very expensive, but I think a lot of people are gonna be really happy with this TRD off-road model, especially in Solar Octane, because that was a TRD Pro color. So now you get access to that TRD Pro color in this really good looking truck with black accents and stuff. I'm a big fan. I really like the way that this thing looks, and I think this would be a great starting platform if you wanna come do something like this at Destination Outdoor. Let's look at the payload tailgate section, you know, in the bed real quick, and then we'll jump inside and kind of see how a 6'6" person looks inside of the new Tacoma. All right, normally I jump in and sit in the bed, but because of the condensation and the moisture here, I'm not gonna do that because I've got reviews to film and I don't wanna get the seat of my pants all wet. But I do wanna show you this because it might surprise some of you if you haven't been following the Toyota Tacoma stuff. This is something that is offered on this fully loaded TRD off-road model. You get a power tailgate, and it will also power back up. You also get outlets in the bed because this is the iForce Max hybrid motor, which is appreciated. The bed can hold over 1,700 pounds. This thing can tow a maximum of 6,500 pounds. Both solid numbers in this segment. And the fact that you get this nice power tailgate, just a little icing on the cake, a little added utility with your Toyota Tacoma. I mean, guys, like some of the Tundras don't even have that. You get this power tailgate on the Tacoma. And in case you don't believe me, not gonna lie, I fumbled that one a little bit. I missed the handle on the first attempt, but there you go. All right, I went ahead and took the liberty of setting up the Toyota Tacoma seat exactly where I would have it, or, you know, thereabouts. So I am 6'6", and this is how I fit in the front of the Toyota Tacoma. I have plenty of room. I can adjust the wheel. In fact, the wheel comes out generously far. I would probably put it in slightly from where it currently is, but the height is good, access to everything is good, legroom is great. I've got tons of room. I also appreciate that there's little fun design flourishes like these grills on the doors, and, you know, all of the kind of plastic Toyota Tacoma TRD embedded in stuff looks really good. That kind of fake grading, you have the grab handle here with more of it over here. It's just kind of a way to dress it up and add a little bit of fun to the interior. You also have these pre-wired aux switches here with some of your primary controls, your piano key switches for your climate control, and then right here, and I'll do a little bit more of this in B-roll, you have your dial, which is for your drive modes, and that changes the drive modes. You have multi-terrain select, you have downhill crawl control, and this little like switch is really kind of cool. It looks really good. And then to the right of it, you've got your rear diff lock, your stabilizer bar disconnect, and your instant access to your camera view, which is appreciated. So you've got all of this stuff right here, comfy seat. I've got plenty of space, power button there. I mean, this is a huge, huge upgrade from the Tacoma interior, the previous Tacoma interior. So if that was something that was holding you back, and I sort of agree, rightly so, it was one of the biggest downsides of the last gen Toyota Tacoma was that the interior was not an unpleasant place to be, but it felt super old, right? It felt super old. This feels much more kind of trucky modern. And the other nice thing is that your touch points, your armrest here and your center rest here are still comfortable, like they're padded and they feel good. So I think this is a very appropriate light truck interior for the segment, but more importantly, can I fit behind myself? And survey says, no, I can't. So this is something that you want to keep in mind if you have tall family members or tall children. And there's a little bit of a problem here, and I'll put it into context. My knees, I have no prayer of sitting behind myself. Now, to be fair, in the previous Tacoma, that wasn't even a pipe dream, okay? So it's not like much has changed, but I definitely could not sit behind myself. Could I sit behind a reasonably sized person? Maybe, it would be close. The other thing is the headroom, okay? This one has the sunroof on it up there, and it stops right here. And so my headroom, I do have an elevated seating position so I can see out the front, but I only have this narrow area to put my head into with a Tacoma that's equipped with a sunroof. So you want to keep that in mind as well. Like, this is fine for outward visibility, like I'm a little bit elevated, but I can't really move my head anywhere, and that's even assuming that I could fit to begin with. So the Tacoma's rear seats is, are best suited for small children, animals, pets, things like that. But if you are a, relatively 99th percentile person like me, it's probably not going to be the best place for you. So should you buy the new 2024 Toyota Tacoma? Well, I'm not going to give you a solid answer on that because we haven't driven it yet. We're not allowed to talk about the way it drives. We were so vigorously told not to talk about the way that it drives that they said, hey, even when you're moving it around the campsites here, leave out any driving information because we are going out to LA for the drive event in a couple of weeks. So stay tuned. There will be a lot more Toyota Tacoma coverage about the way that it drives, about the way that it handles, and about the way that it goes off-road. So stick around and we'll get to that. But first impressions are solid. Let's talk about some of the highlights and then maybe one or two of the negatives. First of all, styling, definite highlight. Love the way that this thing looks, love the way it looks in Solar Octane. Powertrain, highlight. You got that 465 pound-feet of torque in iForce Max, but in the hybrid gets you those plugs in the bed and some extra usability. You don't have to worry about leaving the lights on. Definitely dig that. So that's a pro. This thing has the power, okay? And we'll talk about how that feels when you're driving it later, okay? Then there's the off-road ability. What you're getting in TRD Off-road is substantially more than what you got before, and it serves as a much kind of bigger stepping stone, or maybe not a stepping stone. Maybe it just serves as an endpoint for people like me that go, look, I enjoy going off-road, but I'm not an off-road expert, and this thing has more than enough capability for someone like me. So I think that for a price point, I would really be looking more at something like this. So that's a pro, okay? The bed capacity, solid, 6,500 pounds towing, 1,700 pounds in the bed. Interior, cool looking. Plenty of space in the front, lots of options, great functionality, great usability. Rear seat space, not good, okay? So that's kind of one of the areas where the Tacoma still feels like a Tacoma, right? It's a little compromised in the rear seat space. I think you are going to have to decide, what do you want out of your Toyota Tacoma? And maybe more importantly, how tall are you? Now, as soon as we get this thing in our driveway, I'll get Megan behind the wheel. She loves trucks, and we'll get her perspective as a potential wife, owner, or wife of an owner Toyota Tacoma review. All right, but thanks so much for sticking around for this preview. If you found it useful, please consider liking and subscribing and subscribing to the channel. It's been a long morning, okay? I've been filming non-stop Toyota Lexus content. And if you are so inclined, ring the bell for notifications. And you know what? I'll see you in the next video, which I'm probably gonna go film in about 2 seconds.